chamber to the people. Let the voices ring. Laws are made. The debates take the wing.
I know we are going to be reposed with responsibilities.
Those in support say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
Watch the Senate and the House of Representatives, where decisions flow. The Parliament, the place to know. The Parliament, see power at play. The Parliament, your window into democracy at work, only on Global Television. Hello and welcome to your parliamentary program, The Parliament, which deliberates on legislative policies. I am Aniti Patrick. Welcome. The Senate has approved the appointment of Professor Josh Amopitan-San as the new chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. Professor Amopitan was confirmed after an over 2-hour session fielding questions from lawmakers in plenary.
Tinubu's correspondence was read on the floor by the President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio. Professor Amopitan's name was forwarded to the Senate in line with Section 154, Subsection 1 of the 1999 Constitution as amended. The nomination was referred to the Committee of the Whole to screen and approve the appointment of Professor Amopitan as INEC chairman.
In accordance with the provisions of Section 154, Subsection 1 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended, I am pleased to present for confirmation by the Senate the appointment of Professor Joash Amopitan, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, as Chairman, Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC.
President Tinubu, in another request through a different letter, sought confirmation of the Senate for the appointments of Ayo Omidiron as new Executive Chairman of the Federal Character Commission, FCC, and 28 others as Federal Commissioners.
President of the Senate, distinguished SP, confirmation of appointment of Chairman and Commissioners of the Federal Character Commission. In accordance with the provisions of Section 154, Subsection 1 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended, I am pleased to present for confirmation by the Senate the underlisted 39 names of nominees, as one as a chairman and others as commissioners of Federal Character Commission, FCC, as follows.
In another development, Senator Semela Dahoga Kaila has formally left the People's Democratic Party, PDP, to join the All Progressives Congress, APC. President of the Senate, Akpabio, announcing the move on the Senate floor, said Senator Kaila's decision follows thorough consultations with political allies and constituents in Bauchi North Central. Akpabio also noted that Senator Kaila cited internal crises and loss of strategic direction within the PDP as key factors limiting his ability to serve effectively under the party's platform.
The welfare of my people, I have found it necessary to realign my political engagements with a more progressive platform that embodies good governance, unity, progress, growth, and discipline in the governance of our country. Consequently, I have chosen to join the All Progressives Congress, APC, and to lend my full commitment to the implementation of the renewed hope agenda of His Excellency, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, DCFR.
The Senate, after adopting the prayers of the motion sponsored by Senator Aniekan on the urgent dehumanization of Nigerians in Libya, the Senate went into a closed-door session.
The National Assembly, through the Senate, has reaffirmed its commitment to mediating the ongoing disputes between the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, and the federal government. Chairman, Senate Committee on Tertiary Institutions and TETFON, Senator Mutari Danduse, representing Katsina South, who made this known, stressed the urgent need for students to return to school while negotiations continue.
Senator Danduse, who led the Senate delegation in the meeting with ASU representatives, said the engagement was aimed at finding a balanced resolution to the lingering impasse. He explained that the Senate has drawn up a mediation framework to address the crisis, which includes immediate negotiation between ASU and the Ministry of Education and NUC.
On our resolution, the Senate is not happy that the agreement by the government to ASU has not been fulfilled.
Senator Danduse added that the Senate is determined to ensure that government commitments are met and the academic activity resumed without further delay. He said the priority is the future of the Nigerian students and the stability of the nation's tertiary institution.
We want the leadership of ASU to write all the issues they raise in our discussion so that we can face the Ministry of Education together with them by Tuesday or Wednesday to ensure that our children are back to school.
Also speaking, Senator Karimi Sunday highlighted the progress made in ongoing negotiations. Senator Sunday stressed that the Senate would continue to push for improvements in staff welfare and educational funding.
They have agreed to increase the allowance to 35%, which they still felt they are not comfortable with, that it should go up a bit. And we spoke to them so that we can reach an agreement. Also, they talk about taxing.
In his remarks, Senator Adams Oshomole underscored the need for sincerity on all sides. He pointed out that issues affecting academic work, such as taxation on essential materials, could be resolved through good faith negotiations. Oshomole further warned that Nigeria must take deliberate steps to retain its brightest minds within the university system.
Before then, it would be nice if our children of the poor, I emphasize children of the poor, because the not so poor, their children are not here, so that they can be back to school.
Meanwhile, ASU President Professor Chris Piwana Guson acknowledged that Senate's mediation efforts but maintained that the government's latest salary proposal remains outside the framework earlier agreed upon. Professor Piwana reiterated that any decision to suspend strike action rests with union members.
That document that was submitted in December 2024 is one that was unattended to until we embarked on this action.
Another meeting between the union and the government is scheduled for over the weekend, with hopes that amicable compromise will be paved the way for students to return to classroom.
Meanwhile, the House of Representatives has called for urgent intervention in the lingering dispute between the federal government and the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU. Rising under a motion of urgent public importance, a member representing Badagry Federal Constituency, Lagos State, Sesi Wingan, drew the attention of the House to the ongoing disagreement between the federal government and ASU, warning that the impasse poses a threat to the stability of Nigeria's tertiary education. In adopting the motion, the House mandated its leadership, led by Speaker Tajuddin Abbas, to immediately wade into the matter and facilitate a lasting, mutually acceptable resolution between both parties. The House further appealed to the federal government and ASU to exercise restraint, embrace constructive dialogue, and place the interests of students and national development above all other considerations.
Mandates the leadership of the House, led by the People's Speaker, the Right Honorable Tajuddin Abbas, to immediately intervene between the federal government and ASU.
In another development, the House of Representatives is urging key maritime agencies and the Federal Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy on the establishment of the long-awaited Ibom Deep Seaport project. The resolution followed the adoption of a motion jointly sponsored by Uyime Idem and 8 other lawmakers from Akwa Ibom State. The House observed that marine trade and the blue economy continue to shape global growth, yet Nigeria, particularly Akwa Ibom, has not fully tapped into maritime potential.
Nigerian Port Authority, NPA, the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA, and other relevant agencies to initiate a collaborative framework with the government of Akwa Ibom State for the establishment and realization of the Ibom Deep Sea Ports.
Also, the House has urged the Federal Ministry of Housing and Urban Development to institutionalize a national database of forfeited assets with mechanism for public tracking and civil society oversight to promote accountability and public trust. This was the resolution of the House under a motion by Jafaru Leko, member representing Bogoro, Das, Tafawa, Balewa Federal Constituency, Bauchi State, on the need for transparent and equitable allocation of forfeited Abuja estate handed over to the Ministry of Housing by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission.
Submit a comprehensive report to the House within 60 days on the proposed use allocation criteria and beneficiary selection for the estate.
Meanwhile, the House passed 26 bills for first reading.
Away from that, the Senate has mandated the federal government to negotiate with the Liberian government to repatriate Nigerian women who have been sexually abused and given birth in the Libya prisons. This followed a motion of urgent public importance on the need to protect Nigerians of their human rights and abuses in Libya, sponsored by Senator Aniekan Etimbasi from Akwa Ibom, northeast in Abuja.
Aniekan Etimbasi said over 1,000 Nigerians repatriated from Libya were said to have been tortured, sexually abused, dehumanized, and even involved in organ harvesting. He urged his colleagues to support the motion to protect Nigerians from these abuses in Libya.
The Senate is further aware that Amnesty International, the International Organization of Nigeria, and other credible bodies have documented consistent reports of arbitrary detention, torture, rape, forced labor, and killings of migrants in Libyan detention centers operated by both states and non-state actors.
Senator Anthony Ani Iboinsao, Senator Adams Oshomolen Edonof, and Senator Victor Ome Anambra Central supported the motion advising Nigerians to avoid illegal migration to war-torn Libya.
Having seconded, with your permission, sir, let me lend my voice to this very important motion. This has been a recurring decimal in our national life.
To advise our people, we are in a free country, nobody needs exit visa to travel. But people should be informed that after the collapse of Gaddafi, Libya is no longer what it used to be.
There is no reason why an African will find himself in another African country and he will be so or she treated as if he's not a human being.
Presiding over the plenary, President of the Senate got to Akpabio call for amendment to the prayers. Senator Natasha Akpochi Odiogan, Kogi Central urged the immigration officers and correctional service to liaise with the Libyan authorities to repatriate Nigerian women who have been sexually abused and given birth in Libyan prisons to be repatriated.
This is born out of the fact that numerous Nigerian women who were sex trafficked to Libya and happened to escape the unworthy, unhuman situations were arrested and detained in Nigeria, in the Libyan prisons, and they are being used to satisfy the sexual urges.
The amendment was unanimously adopted, and the motion was referred to the Joint Committee on Foreign Affairs, Judiciary to investigate and report back to the plenary.
The House of Representatives has moved to protect Nigerians from what it described as arbitrary and exploitative bank charges imposed by commercial banks across the country. This followed a motion of urgent public importance raised by Shagaya Muktari from Kwara State during plenary. The House therefore called on the Central Bank of Nigeria to set up an efficient and accessible complaints redress mechanisms for customers affected by such charges.
Presenting the motion, Shagaya expressed concern over the growing complaints from bank customers across Nigeria about incessant, arbitrary and unexplained deductions from their accounts by commercial banks. He noted that while banks are expected to provide financial services at fair and transparent costs, many Nigerians have continued to suffer multiple deductions such as SMS alerts, charges, card and account maintenance fees, interbank transfer fees, stamp duties, and other unaccounted debits, some of which are duplicated or unjustified. Adopting the motion, the House urged the Central Bank of Nigeria to immediately publish a comprehensive and simplified list of approved bank charges and enforce strict penalties on banks found guilty of illegal deductions.
Urge the CBN to publish a comprehensive and simplified list of approved bank charges and ensure proper enforcement of penalties against banks found to be in violation.
In another development, the House of Representatives has urged the Nigerian Armed Forces, the police and other security agencies to immediately reinforce deployment and launch joint operations in Kebbi and Tambuwal local government areas of Sokoto State, following renewed bandit attacks that have left scores dead, many adopted, and entire communities displaced. The call followed a motion of urgent public importance raised by Abdul Samad Dasuki, representing Kebbi, Tambuwal Federal Constituency of Sokoto State.
That if these attacks persist without immediate and decisive intervention, Kebbi and Tambuwal may experience further humanitarian crisis, mass displacement, and deepened distrust between citizens and the state.
Meanwhile, at plenary, 3 Kaduna State PDP members of the House of Representatives defected to the ruling APC. The defectors are Abdul Karim Ahmed, representing Kaduna South Federal Constituency, Aliyu Abdullahi, representing Ikara, Kabo Federal Constituency, and Sadiq Abdullahi, representing Sabo Geri Federal Constituency. Reading their defection letters, the Speaker, Tajuddin Abbas, during plenary said their defection was due to an internal crisis within the PDP. The highlight of the defection was the presence of Kaduna State Governor Uba Sani in plenary.
Let's take a breather here, and when we return, on the flip side, we'll look at more unfolding of legislative proceedings in the Green Chamber. Welcome back. It's good to have you on the Parliament. The House of Representatives has resolved to launch a comprehensive investigation into alleged violations of local content, tax and community development laws by oil and gas companies operating in Imo State. Our correspondent tells us that the resolution followed a motion sponsored by Chike Okafor, representing Ehime Mbano, Ihite, Uboma, and Obo Federal Constituency.
At plenary, lawmakers unanimously adopted a motion mandating 6 key House committees, including Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Petroleum Resources, Finance and Justice, to probe oil and gas firms across of bridging the Nigerian Oil and Gas Industry Content Development Act and the Petroleum Industry Act. The House also directed the oil companies to immediately comply with local employment and community development provisions, open operational offices in Imo State, and allow officials of the state's Internal Revenue Service to perform their lawful duties without restrictions. It further mandated the Committee on Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring to summon the chief executives of the 7 affected oil firms, along with heads of the NCDMB, NUPRC, and the Imo State Internal Revenue Service for questioning.
The Taxes and Levies Approved List for Collection Act authorizes state governments to collect certain taxes and levies from businesses operating within their territories, which is crucial for funding state infrastructure and social services.
Okafor, while addressing journalists after plenary, said the motion was not aimed at confrontation, but at ensuring fairness, transparency, and mutual respect between all companies and their host communities.
They take for granted the specific laws and the relevant laws particularly the Nigerian Oil and Gas Industry Content Development Act, which explicitly requires that all oil and gas operators are to establish operational offices in their areas of operation. In this case, particularly in the host communities.
The committees are expected to report back to the House within 4 legislative weeks. Also, the House of Representatives has resolved to investigate the circumstances surrounding the abandoned $35 million modular refinery project in Brass, Bayelsa State, 4 years after huge financial commitments were made to the project without any visible progress. The resolution followed a motion of urgent public importance moved by Billy Osaworo, Edo State. At Wednesday plenary, the House mandated the setting up of an ad hoc committee to probe the $35 million investments made by the Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board in the proposed Atlantic International Refinery and Petrochemical Limited, and to report back within 4 weeks. The sponsor of the motion, who expressed concern that despite the substantial investment equivalent to cover 50 billion naira, nothing is on ground to show that the refinery ever took off. He lamented that the failure of the project, despite earlier interventions and a petition to the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission in May 2024, raises serious questions about transparency, accountability, and the management of public funds.
To see that something urgent and important is done, so as to stop this brewing war between Edo State and Delta State. For a stage in time saves 9.
Members unanimously supported the motion, describing the situation as a case of monumental economic waste that undermines the federal government's efforts towards energy independence and industrial revitalization. The House therefore urged the ad hoc committee to carry out a thorough investigation into the abandoned project and ensure those responsible for the mismanagement of public funds are brought to account. The committee is expected to submit its findings and recommendations to the House within 4 weeks for further legislative action. Staying with the House of Reps, it was a solemn atmosphere at the National Assembly as the House of Representatives held a valedictory session in honor of the late former Speaker Agunwa Anekwe, whose body laid in the state at the foyer of the complex. Agunwa Anekwe, who presided over the House between 1992 and 1993, was remembered as a principal leader and strong advocate of democratic values whose legacy helped shape the institution. Speaker of the House, Tajuddin Abbas, described the session as a rare honor reserved for individuals whose contributions left an enduring mark on Nigerians' democratic development. From colleagues, including Deputy Speaker Benjamin Kalu, former Kano State Governor Rabiu Kwankwaso, former Minister of Labour Chris Ngigi, and former Speaker Yakubu Dogara, joined members in paying glory tributes, noting his humility, integrity, and dedication to national service. Members also urged that his name be immortalized in recognition of his selfless service to the nation.
His tenure, though brief, remain a reference point in our democratic evolution. In him, we find the example of a presiding officer who understood that the House of Representatives is not merely a gathering of politicians.
Thank the Honorable House for giving us this very good opportunity to honor our colleague, our friend.
Whilst we ask the federal government to name a national monument after this former speaker, this amiable speaker, this indefatigable officer of the Federal Republic,
he will be remembered by the things he handed out to others and by the lives he touched. And for us to remember him, I believe the best way that we can sustain and each his legacy.
Responding on behalf of the family, his daughter, Ijoma Obiagu, expressed profound gratitude to the House for celebrating her father's life and contributions.
In these very difficult and trying times, we are comforted by the very kind words that have been said about him today. It tallies with the memories that we have of him as a father.
The House commiserated with his family, the people of Anambra State, and Nigerians at large over his passing in July at the age of 68, as the late speaker's final rites are set to take place at his country home in Anambra State. And this is how we call it a wrap on this edition of the Parliament. Until the next time when we come your way on the Parliament, don't forget that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365 and on Star Times channel 276. Kindly follow us across all our social media platforms now showing on your screen using @GlobalTV-NG. Thank you to my production team, and until the next time, I am Annie T. Patrick. Bye for now.